My name is Mrs. Price, Aisha Price, and I work for Loudoun County Public Schools. And we're in the Small Business Bootcamp session 3. We're in week 2 after the holidays, so we're still in our fall session. And today, of course, we're going to be talking about some concept for business entrepreneurship. One of them are going to be niche markets, business goals and objectives, supply and demand, and the marketing concept of business, executive summaries, and what you need to put in that executive summary, business management overall. We're going to dig into, we talked about management last week, but we're going to talk about supply chain management this week, and then business expenses. And I mentioned before that next week we'll dive into business costs and prices and understanding your bill rate and things of that nature. But this week, I want you to get exposed to it. And part of your homework is calculating your business cost and filling out the spreadsheet that I provided in Schoolology. And I'll email it to you if you can't access Schoolology. So that way you can start calculating some of your business expenses, because your business costs really determine how much you're going to charge for your product or service. All right. So we did talk last week about making sure that you organize your business appropriately. We talked last week about every business has to have board of directors. In addition to having a board of directors, when you look at a board of directors, you really need to make sure that you identify, the different roles. Every board of directors, of course, has to have a president, a secretary, a treasurer, a vice president, and an operating manager. And so you can break that out into how you feel is necessary. Sometimes as small business owners, we're doing multiple roles, and that happens a lot. But I do suggest keeping your overhead low. One way to do that is, hiring out pay per hour, doing different contracts and agreements, and 1099s are really helpful. But when you start out your business and you're filling out your business paperwork, you do have to put, how many employees you have. So if you may have, yourself as an employee, or you may have another employee, but you want to make sure that you fill out, your org chart appropriately, and fill in if you can't, if you don't have someone that does all these different parts, at least get someone that you can rely on that may have their own business. I know for me, what I do is I contract a lot of my services out. I have like 2 interns who do a lot of the assistance work. I contract like all my marketing materials out, all my financial work, I contract that out. I do submit my own invoices, but when it comes to like my budgeting and my taxes, and we'll talk about that next week, I do have a finance person who manages that. And then I do have other partners that I rely on different bases for, their expertise. And you can make up agreements with them. And we'll talk about contracts the last week. So it is, I understand, we're small businesses, we're doing a lot of things on our own, but it's always important to utilize some of those tools that we have. One good feature is now that we have websites that can, schedule appointments for you and book all your appointments for you. But if you do need an assistant to help you, it's always important to just have someone on hand that you can rely on, even if you're just paying them per hour or they're an intern and they do some seasonal work with you. So consider that. But when it comes to like your finances, I encourage you to have someone that's going to manage your finances for you, even if you're going to, manage them on one side of your accounts in regards to like your QuickBooks or your spreadsheets, and then you're handing them over to someone else to review. We want, separation of duties, and business is different. You can't really do everything on your own. You do need to have other people to help you. So if you do have a business that you do want to rely on other individuals for different tasks, and different departments, I suggest, going ahead and making out a small little org chart and filling in who those people are and what the positions are they're going to do to help you with. And we know that, board of directors, you do have to meet twice a year. You do have to keep your meeting notes. And you do have to you keep track of those type of different things, right? A lot of business owners will meet like quarterly. They'll decide if their board of directors are going to be silent partners, managing partners, if they're going to get a percentage of income or a percentage of some of their business sales and revenues. So you can work out, different features. I know when I started sitting on different boards, a lot of it was just the intellectual capital that I provided to the students. So not, excuse me, to the students, but to the business owners. And I think that's always helpful just to have other individuals to bounce ideas off of. And meeting with them, on a regular basis is really important. So we know the different departments you need to have: management, operations, marketing, human resources, accounting, and clarifying what those roles are. Even if you just have someone that's going to do it for a part-time basis, we want to make sure that we cover. Last week we talked a little bit about SIPOC, supplier input, process, output, and customer. And we're going to talk about that next week, so you can get an idea of what that process looks like, because each department or each person in your company is going to be affected by the supply chain management. And you want to outline, what are those roles that individuals are going to do. And then you also want to outline what are those goals you want for your company for those different categories, right? So what are your marketing goals? What are your financial goals? What are your corporate goals? What are you trying to achieve? And that lines in with those business objectives, missions, and vision statements. And we'll go over those a little bit more in detail. In addition to having all of those things in your business plan, the biggest document that all investors and all lenders are interested in is the executive summary, right? So that is just a summary of, what your business is. It lists your contact information, your business location, identifies your business services or products, what's unique about you, what's your target market, ideal customers. It also details your business goals and objectives, and then it defines those financial projections, maybe a need that you have. If your goals were that you wanted to make 50,000 the first year or 100,000 the second year, how are you breaking those goals down, and what is the need? What is the immediate need to keep your business functioning for the first 5 years? So a lot of times we see there is a statement saying, we need such and such for this amount of years, right? So we'll see that in the executive summary, and it will outline what those costs will cover. It also describes the size and scale of your business, and like I mentioned, the funds you need to operate, and any special details about your company. What makes you special? What makes you unique? What is it you're providing to the market, and why we need you? One thing I do want to talk to you about is, I touched on it a little bit last week, is niche markets, but I didn't go over it in detail. A niche market really sells unique and customized products or services, right? So we're looking at those small consumers in a big market. So if we talk about the food industry, or we talk about healthcare industry, we realize that individuals have specific needs, right? Individuals may have allergies, or they may be have sensitive skin, hyperallergenic skin. And so what a niche market is they're supplying those different products and services to customers that are within those huge markets. Okay. And we talk about like organic products, or products that are, made farm to table, right? So the food industry has embraced this, the healthcare industry has embraced this, as well as our cosmetic industry. And so as business owners, we have to think about, what is it that makes us unique? What's in our product line, or what services that we provide that are really helping fill that need? Okay. I know I'm someone who has acne, not acne, but eczema, and I dealt with that. So I was always curious about products that will help with the eczema. Okay. And in the past, the, markets weren't interested in that. They didn't make products like that. And they decided, hey, we need to start catering to all these individuals because they can afford our products. We may have to pay a little bit more to get the product and to make the product, but people are willing to pay. And that's where that supply and demand is going to come in, and we'll watch that. But it really creates opportunities for small businesses to compete. Even for myself, like I teach workforce development, business development, small business development. So the individuals that I'm servicing, I'm not servicing huge corporations. Do I talk to individuals who are in huge corporations? Yes. Do I meet with them on a regular basis? Yes. But do I also work with small business owners that are in small, medium-sized businesses? Yes. And the reason why is because it's a niche. I'm focusing on that small business owner that needs that assistance in the beginning. They need that mentorship. They need to understand the processes. They need that guidance. So when you look at niche markets, you're really looking at a huge marketplace, but identifying those specific needs and unique benefits that you can provide to your clients. They will pay a little bit more for it, but they're okay with paying. The market has already showed us that individuals are okay paying that because it's targeting specific individuals within your target market segmentation who have specific requirements, maybe vegan, paraben free, hypoallergenic, or they like luxury products. And we all know the individuals will pay a premium for luxury, right? What they perceive to be luxury. So we're going to watch a video about supply and demand. One of the things I do want to talk to you about, which we talked about a little bit before, is mission statements. It's really important. I know my students always every semester have a challenge with mission statements because mission and vision statements are not something that you're drafting every day. Okay, a mission statement is a brief description of your company's purpose and what it does. And excuse me, we'll see that when we look at some of these mission statements, we'll see how businesses decided to put what it is they're doing, who they're targeting, how they can help, right? A vision statement is more aspirational document that describes more of your long-term goals. If you're trying to change global warming, if you're trying to, change the financial markets, these are more long-term goals, and you would identify them, the different long-term goals, right, within your industry. Your mission statement, it defines your company's culture, its values, its ethics, your goals, and your agenda. We talked a little bit last week about brand marketing, and we'll go into brand marketing next week when we talk about the what are we talking about? We're talking about cost next week. And we're also going to talk about the supplier process, but I also want to talk to you about brand marketing and how important that is, okay? And media distribution and how are you going to distribute your products. So your mission statement really is that opening statement that individuals read and they know, okay, this is what you do, this is who you do it for, and this is why you do it. So it's really simple, but when our complex brains want to think more about it, right? We want to think more into it. So we'll go over some sample mission statements. And we really want to make sure we understand how these statements apply to our stakeholders, our employees, our distributors, our suppliers, and our shareholders, as well as our community. What are we doing to impact the community, to change the community? I know for me, one of my goals was always to let other individuals and know how important continued education is, and to continue to develop your skills so that you can grow in the workforce and grow in your company. So furthering developing yourself, educating yourself, putting that time and effort into yourself is important. And if that's your brand, you want to make sure that everyone knows that's your brand, right? People trust a brand that is loyal. They trust a brand that keeps to their word. Okay. And these entities, they use the statements to align their goals with the company. So more of a brief overview. So a mission statement, which I'm sure you all have seen this before, your mission statement is really about your purpose. Your vision statement really is about your goals. Okay. So the mission statement includes just 3 questions. What do you do? What do you do? How do you do it? And why do you do it? Right? So, who are you doing it for? I'm doing this business because I notice that there is a need for continued education, or I notice that there is a need for these services and products in the market. And you specifically say, what type of clients need that service or in the market? What are those unique benefits you're giving to them? How are you helping a client heal from a challenge, or how are you helping them with a problem that they were dealing with? And that's really where all that marketing and the media and all of those things come into play, right? What are you doing to help me? That's what clients want to know. If I pay this amount, what am I getting out of it? What's the benefit? Okay, so we always need to stress that. And next week, when we talk about SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, looking at your SWOT analysis and identifying what are some of your strong points and what are some of your weak points. And I'll show you a SWOT analysis from a company that I helped. I helped a lot of different companies, but I just wanted to show you an example of a SWOT analysis and how you can break it down. I know I went over that a little bit last week, but it's one key tool that I don't think business owners use, because if the market already has your product,
Something happened to the sound. Did it happen for you, Lady Linares?
Yes, I can hear
Maybe
it.
in the chat we could put.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, there you go. Great.
Yeah, sorry. Here we go. I had to get back on. Okay. All right. So here's some examples of mission statements. Okay. I'm gonna mute everyone. All right. So some mission statements. Nike, our mission is to drive is what drives us to do everything possible to expand the human potential. We do that by creating groundbreaking sport innovations. So what do? Right. So they create groundbreaking no sports innovations by making their product more sustainable. Right. So they build creative, diverse, global team, and they make positive impact in communities where they live and work, right? Everyone knows. So people think, oh, the logo, the slogan, just do it, is their mission. That's not their mission. That's a logo and a slogan. Okay. So our mission really is what drives you and why you're doing this. Walmart, they save people money so they can live better. Yeah, that's true. And that's their main goal, is to have prices for everyone so that people can choose different options based upon their budget and based upon what they need, right? Starbucks, to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. I sent out a video on your homework of the Starbucks media distribution channel. I do think you should watch that. Starbucks is amazing company, and the concepts that they created, the experience that they created for individuals, they realize that their coffee is expensive, that they have different prices. They realize that not the average person is going to stop drinking, McDonald's or 7-Eleven coffee to go to Starbucks, right? It's a specific taste, it's a specific feeling. And so people buy that. They like spending a little bit more money for premium products. So Starbucks, definitely watch that. It's on your Schoology, but it's also, I sent it out, as your Schoology for one of your videos to watch. Tesla, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. I remember when Tesla started this initiative about sustainable energy, no one really was interested. They were just getting on the cuffs of it. So you can always think of having something that's innovative, and maybe everyone's not going to buy into it in the beginning. But as more and more individuals start expressing their concern, and as we see, we have emissions tests and things that we have to do in different states to follow these regulations, because renewable energy is important. Our resources are scarce, right? And we have different crises that we're dealing with, and we know now that tariffs and imports and exports are going to increase by the tariff prices. So these are different regulations that are being put on the businesses, and so in order to pay for you to have those products or services, you are going to offer those at a premium, and consumers are going to have to pay for that. So how are you going to make it beneficial for them, and why do they want it? Okay. So our mission is to deliver innovative educational content that inspires, empowers, and equips people to be successful in their careers, in their business, and to create generational wealth. Our vision is to expand the educational resources and opportunities for entrepreneurs and professionals to help them to be experts in their profession, manage and successfully grow the organization to achieve their corporate goals, right? And then you have like some goals that are listed out there, what you want to do. Maybe you want to increase your marketing goals, subscribers, or click on pay services, or create a new website to offer different services with your business. So all of your goals and all of the things that you're going to do in your business plan really need to line up and have actionable measures. And we'll talk about that. So business objectives and goals, really a business objective and goal really helps you clear um, the roadmaps, right? It creates that roadmap and the action plan for you to translate some of those objectives into time sensitive goals, right? And you want to set that groundbreaking record for the culture. So whatever you're designing for your business, your culture, your corporate culture is following that. Your brand is following that. Okay. When you relay business goals and objectives, it helps the company, it helps leadership, it helps you understand the clear objectives, it helps you understand what those opportunities are and what the resources are you need to obtain some of those goals. Let's think of some examples. So a growth intention. So anytime you do a business objective and goal, it has to have a meaning, right? So we want to improve efficiency, or we want to improve sales, or we want to improve marketing, or we want to improve training. Whatever it is you want to improve in your business, whatever you're measuring based upon your business goals really need to be outlined, and you want to have milestones to achieve them and have a timeline to reach them. There's a cool video on SMART goals. We know a goal, is something you hope to achieve in the future. Could be short term, less than a year, long term, more than a year. It's important to establish that plan, that roadmap, that action plan, and create those milestones for yourself to make sure that you're successful in the future. Okay. And everything you do for your business should line up to your business goals. So that was part of your homework, was to do some different business goals. So I want to make sure that you guys are going over those, and let's watch some videos. I want to talk about supply and demand. I want to also talk about the mission and vision a little bit more, get into a video of supply chain management. And then when we come back from break, we're going to jump a little bit, and I'm going to ask you to tell me some of your goals. If you've already written out your mission statement from homework, I want us to go over what that mission statement is and vision statement, and try to just give you a little bit of feedback. Some of you have already done it before, but that's just something that you're always going to refine and change. Okay. So it just makes sure that it lists out, what you do, what's the focus of, who you're servicing, what type of individuals. I always say that's the importance of that target market segmentation, identifying your clients from, their different demographics, because that helps you outline how you're going to design your business, right? If you don't know who you're targeting, you don't know how you're going to develop your marketing material, you don't know what products or services to provide, you don't know what the market industry is already offering. So there's a lot of research that goes into your mission and vision statement, but it's very key to your business. And then second, after you do the mission and vision statement, then think of different goals, right? And a lot of us, we probably won't be able to define some of these goals until we get a little bit further in that process, right? So when you're defining marketing goals, you really want to understand these different marketing concepts that we're going to go over. When you're defining the financial goals, you're going to want to understand, what your business costs are, what incurred, and what you're going to charge your clients for the services or products, and how you're going to make revenue and profit. And I do have a business budget spreadsheet that will kind of help you outline those type of things. So when you're doing your budget and when you're looking at your finances, then you could start looking backwards and going to those goals and seeing, what are some of the goals I want to achieve? What's the income that I need to replace for my business? If I'm going to just be doing this part-time, what's the kind of money that I want to make on the side? How much money do I need, right? How much product and services? Next week, we'll talk about inventory management too, because I think it's important for everyone to understand what inventory is. And then we'll go over some different terms today, some financial terms today that I think are important for you to understand. You don't have to be, a full-fledged accountant to do some of these things. It's great if you have that knowledge, but I do think when it comes to, doing all of finalizing your financial papers, please invest in a bookkeeper. And I have someone that works great with business if you need someone, but that is not something you want to leave alone, right? And then when it comes to your marketing goals, really understanding some of these concepts in marketing and determining, what are those goals and how are you going to reach your target client? What are the distribution media channels you're going to go through? And we'll talk about distribution media channels. If we get a chance to talk about them today. I added them into the presentation for tomorrow, but for next week. But I do think we may have some time to go ahead and discuss some of those. So let me go ahead and stop the recording, and we're just going to watch a few little videos about some of the different topics that we talked about, and then I can answer any questions that you have. And then I want to go over what are some of your mission and goals. All right. Thank you for your time.